to another exciting video from Gobbler Ridge Farm. And today we are at Chattahoochee Bend State Park, and normally when I go camping I always try to do a bushcraft adventure, but we're out here for a family function, and so my cousin, who hasn't been over here in 18 years, come on in Jimmy, came all the way in from Alabama, and he's a fellow wood carver. And so what we thought we would do with all the kids and grandkids and all that kind of stuff is we would do a bushcraft project together. And what we're going to be doing today is making a bushcraft cup out of wood. These logs right here. And you know, a lot of times in a survival situation, if you may have a fire starter in your pocket, a big lighter, and maybe a knife on your belt, and you wind up getting trapped out overnight, normally maybe in a hunting situation, you get to a piece of property you're not familiar with, and you need to drink some water to stay hydrated. You don't normally carry a metal pot around with you. Nope. You ever take a metal pot when you go hunting?
No.
I never have either. And so with this skill, you could make a cup out of a piece of wood, warm up some rocks at a fire, drop those over in your cup, and you could hydrate until the next day when you find your way out of the woods, or the rangers come and rescue you and you get in the newspaper, and not such a good flattering terms, right? Okay, but anyway, stick with us. There's a lot of uses for these cups, but we're going to teach you that if you don't have something to drink out of or something to boil water in, if you have a log, then you could make a cup. All right, stick with us. Quiet on the set, and action. Action. All right, the first thing that you're going to need is a nice straight grain piece of wood, something about the size of your hand that you can grip onto, and you want it to be kind of free of knots. Now, normally in my bushcraft bag, I always have a handsaw, and I pretty much always have a knife on my belt when I'm out in the woods. And you can use certain techniques to beaver chew this and get it cut the way you want it. Since we're at a state park, we're going to use the reciprocating saw. Now, try to cut it as straight across as you can. I do have sandpaper with me, and we'll kind of flatten that up. But if you're in a survival situation, you're typically not going to be on a flat table. You're going to be on the ground. That's not going to be even anyway. So just get it close. All right, Micah. Don't let it move. Hold on to it. We got it. All right, now let's come up to about right in here. Let's slide it up a little bit. You may have to get on this side to hold it. I'll try to cut two of them out of this little area right in here. All right, hold it for me.
Okay.
You got it?
Whoa!
Oh, he fell off the table. Hey, we got that on film, but oh man, we blocked him. You okay? Well, I think he may have, look at his hand, I think he fell. All right, Jacob, you want to hold it for me? I saw a little blood on his hand. Yeah. That's kind of knotty in there, so. Yeah. All right, we'll come back to these if we need to later. It's got some knots in it, so we're going to call it good. You might also notice that I have painted the end grain white. I actually cut these on Thursday before we came over for our camping trip, and I painted that white to keep it from splitting and checking, and then it wouldn't go back together and hold the water the way we want to. In a bushcraft or survival situation, normally it's going to be green and you're going to be splitting this before it has a chance to really check up on you. So you don't have to carry a gallon of paint in your backpack. I'm just saying. Okay, the next thing that we're going to do with this log that we cut into sections is we want to split this 4 directions. Now, I have seen some other folks that have split this and made it into 6 pieces. I don't really like doing that because it just makes it that much harder to put it back together and keep it from collapsing when we put the cordage around it at the end, because once we clean this out, we're going to have to put this back together. So I'm a proponent of cutting this into quarters. So I'm going to take out my knife and my baton, put this on a good hard surface, try to center that up, and baton away. Okay, once I have these sections, all I'm going to do is split this once again. Now I'm going to have to put this back together. If you have a campfire or something and some soot, I recommend that you mark each one of these quadrants. It just so happens, since I'm camping, I happen to have a Sharpie marker. But you can take dirt, mud, anything that will help you put this back together. And it's only 4 pieces, so even if you don't do that, yeah, you'll still be able to figure it out. Okay, let's cut this again, make this into quarters. Try to split it as straight as you can. There we go. And do that one more time. There we go. Love my GSO6. All right, that's going to go back together very nicely. All right, we'll move over to the next phase of this. Hit it like you play golf. Slice it. Ready for phase 3. All right, once you have everything split into quarters, it'll all come back together pretty good here. And so what we're going to do is, this is going to be the bottom. Make sure you know what the bottom is. We don't want to cut on opposite ends, otherwise you'll have a problem getting it all back together and keeping it from leaking water. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this part out of the bottom, and then I'm going to put a saw mark about 1 inch or so from the bottom here, and then this is what we're going to baton out, which is going to create our cavity when we start filling it with water. Now, one of the things, when you're looking at some of these knives, they have these saws, excuse me, have very aggressive teeth. And if you immediately go in on this little ridge right here, it's very delicate. You can pull this and rip out a little section of this wood. If you do, then you are going to have a hole in the bottom of your cup and it won't hold water very well. So, what I like to do is come in here, and about where I'm going to make the bottom there is I am going to make a little stop cut. And this is where I'm going to go in with a saw blade. And by taking that out, what I'll have is something like this, and that will keep me from taking this little ridge out of the center. So let me get out here and start doing some cutting. Now, I'm not going to cut all the way to the edge, and you'll have to watch it because this edge wraps around in kind of a semicircle fashion. So if you're paying attention just here, you can cut too far into this. We can always come back later with a knife and clean that up a little more if we have to go deeper. So make sure you're paying attention to both sides here. Watch what you're doing. And I think that's going to be deep enough. All right, see that? And now what I've done is I've cut down and I've left me enough for the cup to come back together. And then eventually I'm going to take all of this out in the next step. And that's going to create the cavity that we drink from. Now, as much as I know you love watching me saw into a piece of wood, I don't want to bore you, so I'm going to go ahead and stop the video now, cut my other 3 pieces, and we'll be back with you shortly. All right. Luckily, we're in cabins, and we have 5 RVs and 2 cabins that we've rented this weekend because we just had an impromptu storm blow up, so we had to move into the back porch of the cabin. If this had been an actual bushcraft emergency, we'd be wet by now. Anyway, let's get back to the bill. We had to change locations here. But now that I have a stop cut down here at the end of the board, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go out and I'm going to baton from there, and I'm going to take out this little center section like that. Let's see if you can see it in this lighting on the back porch. And I'm going to take out this piece right here down to right there, and that is going to give me the cavity that I'm going to be working with. So that's the next step. Let me get out there and baton these center pieces out, and we'll be back with the following steps right after that. All right, I just heard a little thunder rumbling in the background, so I'm going to try to baton this quickly. Let me see what I'm doing here. It's starting to get dark. Now you want to watch this as to where this is breaking out. You want to make sure it's breaking in or down straight and not back into your wood. If it backs into your wood, you need to take it out and regroup. We can always come back in and take more out, but if you blow the back of it out, it'll never hold water. And there you go. Okay, one of the things that I also do is I do some wood carving, mostly Santa Claus ornaments. And one of the things we always do is you do not want to leave sharp edges, because if something hits on there, it could splinter this little piece here off. And if you've ever, let's say, carved tent pegs or any of that kind of stuff that's going to take some impact, you always round the edges so that when it takes an impact, it doesn't hit these outer edges, it hits inside the center part here. So to make sure that this doesn't split out, and if all this splits out, you know, my water is going to be sitting here, so it obviously would leak, is I am going to, while I have this apart, I'm going to round all of these edges. And that will save me the unfortunate problem of something hitting it and wasting all this work that I've been doing on this thing. It'd be gone in a half a second. So I'm going to kind of round some of these edges here. I'm going to round some of these down in here. Those should be okay once I put it back together. And I'm going to kind of round the edges on this. I'm also going to do it up here where I'll be drinking from. That way, if I use it for a storage container, putting berries and things of that nature in it, or if I was to put water in it and then try to put hot rocks down in there, I wouldn't want to hit these edges and start splintering it. Also, when I start drinking from it, it'll flow out of here a little smoother and not pour all over me. So next step is I'm going to kind of round some of these edges off just like that. All right, that's looking pretty good. Okay, there you have it, all nice and rounded. Okay, now that I've kind of hollowed that out and made it a little more round, it'll hold more volume. I am going to start putting this back together so these pieces go together. And then I'm going to put lashing around this to hold it together. Now, in a survival situation, you're not going to have wood glue with you, okay? But you can use pine pitch or something like that to go in there. It will help seal it up a little bit more. But once you do a lashing, whether it be paracord or bank line or whatever, paracord will actually shrink a little bit when it gets wet, and bank line doesn't shrink up quite so much there because it's normally tarred. But when you lash it and this gets wet, it's going to expand and kind of fill that in. It won't leak as much after some water has sat in there. It's kind of like if you've ever seen like a wooden jacuzzi out in the wild. It may have a little water pressure coming through it at first, and then after the wood grain swells up, it won't leak quite so much. So I am actually going to use some Titebond 3 in mine because I'm doing this more of a fun little project. And so the Titebond 3 is waterproof. And if you look on the website, it's not toxic at all. So that's what I'm going to use. So I'm actually going to, right now, I'm going to glue these pieces, put them back together, and then I'll come back to you once I start the lashing process. All right, so next step, put on some glue. All right, now I'm lashing this, and I'll show you in a minute what I did. I made a little loop here, and then I'm using number 36 bank line. You can use whatever you have, shoestring if you had to. You make natural cordage if you've got yucca, palmetto, cedar, hickory, whatever you can get your hands on, milkweed, lots of stuff you can make natural cordage with out there. And I'm just going to wrap this around here, and push that down a little bit, and this will hold it in there while it's drying. You can even leave this on there if you want to. For grip purposes, decorative purposes, and what have you. And then I'm going to come in through that loop, and then I'm going to pull this back down and into my lash there. All right, and now dress that up a little bit. All right, there we go. We'll let that dry. I'm going to go ahead and put a lash up around the top here so that it's held on both places while everything dries up. And I'll be drinking coffee out of it in the morning. Okay, now that I've got the lashing down here, that's just going to hold that in while it dries, and I can always come back and make this more decorative if I want to, keep it utilitarian. But in any event, I've got some gaps up here, so I'm going to also wrap it up here. But let me take a moment and show you what I was talking about when I'm doing my lash. What I've done is I've taken a length of bank line here, and I've made a loop in it, obviously a very long end and a short end. So I'm going to take this short end and put that right up there. And I'm going to leave myself a little tail here that I can grab a hold of in just a moment. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to start wrapping it. And putting a little moderate pressure on there, not too bad. Now once I start getting another wrap or two on here, now I can start putting some pressure on there, and I'm going to start pulling these pieces together to make them, you know, as watertight as you can with the piece of split log. And now I'm going to keep going around this, putting some, you know, decent pressure on it, keeping my lashes together. Now, if you over tighten this, you may not be able to pull your tag end back through there. So I'm putting moderate, you know, pressure on there. I want to try to keep it as watertight as possible, but I still need to put these lashes on here. That's where it helps if you, you know, if you're in a true bushcraft situation and you're using pine tar, pine pitch, or in my case, you know, a little glue. If you're using hide glue, whatever you have. Another thing that you can use that I understand is safe to drink out of is some of your epoxies. I use those in a lot of my bow making, like West Marine systems on that, because it's waterproof and flexible, which would be really good for a cup in case you were to drop it or something. Once I pull that lash in there, I'm going to cut these off, dress them up there a little bit, and let that dry overnight, and we'll see what it does in the morning. All right, that's pretty much going to do it. We're going to finish Jimmy's up tomorrow between the rain and the thunderstorms, and it got dark on us, and we had to go sing happy birthday to my mother, who is, just turned 80, so it's gotten a little dark and a little late. Yeah. But it's been fun. Jimmy's taken up wood carving and does some awesome stuff. Man, your wife paints your things up good. I need to send a collection over to Alabama and have her do that.
If it wasn't for her painting, it would just look like pieces of wood with chips out of it. So.
Well, in any event, this is what our Bushcraft cup is going to look like, and you can use this for gathering fruits and things like that, doing water if you catch some crawfish and put them in there, whatever you want to do. I think I'm going to try and drink, well, wait a minute, what if it leaks hot coffee? I think I'll try the water tomorrow.
Yeah, that'd probably be best.
Yeah, this is from experience.
Right.
But anyway, give that a try. It's a fun little project that you can do. And that's going to do it for this video. We'll see all you turkeys on the next one.
Fabulous. What a team.